Gundamania continues on Year of the Mecha, brother.
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do when a Gundam comes in and blows you the fuck up? Because seriously, what hope you got when you just got nothing but a Zaku? Like, what hope do you have?
What, did someone just say, it's a Gundam? Kaboom.
Yep. You just... Oh, that guy had it worse. He was piloting a Leo. He just got defeated by someone sneezing at him.
Thing is, like, the Leos are supposed to be the equivalent of mid-tier Gundams. It's just that the actual Gundams in Gundam Wing are that much more powerful.
They just make the Zakus look that much more respectable.
Yeah, at least the Zaku could put up a fight.
Yeah, some
power
sort of
creep.
Power
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Very much so. So, today's game, as mentioned before, we're back to another Gundam game. This time, internet should be better, I think, compared to last week, just because this is running off an actual console and I'm only connecting it to the capture card. There's no conflicting CPU processes from trying to run an emulator at the same time. But we're much like with last week's game, Battle Universe, we're still deep in the period of Gundam games, or most Gundam in general, just not coming out in the West anymore, which is a shame because we got another classic from Beck, which needs some. I forget if I actually got into it in depth when talking about like the other side story games when I played them, like Blue Destiny and Rise from the Ashes, but this is actually like an important bit of history to kind of get across as far as this game, the significance of it, you know? Like there are good Gundam games out there. I would like to think I have conveyed that well enough on the stream with like the few I've played beforehand, but there have been some that I think are pretty much like the ideal sort of template to try and model a Gundam game after if you're going to attempt it, and that is what Beck has basically established, dating all the way back to the Blue Destiny on the Sega Saturn. It was known as a side story because they understood then that trying to just replicate exactly the events of the anime was not going to cut it. So they were like, you know what? We'll just take the tapestry of this entire war and set up a new set of characters that are fighting in the same conflict, and you are just the lowly GM pilot who works their way up.
And I mean, if you can't do, like, at this point, unless you're doing it in a way more interesting way, there is no point in telling the UC story again, because we've all seen it a bazillion times already.
Right.
So doing something different, even if it is just as small as a perspective change, that's interesting.
Yeah. And in the case of Blue Destiny, literally a perspective change because it was inside the cockpits. Like, that was one of the coolest parts about the game, which carried over to one of the first localized Gundam games that most people definitely remember, Rise from the Ashes for the Dreamcast.
Yes.
Which was slower paced, more tactical, and then a whole host of PS2 games came afterwards. Again, all of them from Beck. Some of them localized, some weren't. You know, like kind of starting with Journey to Jaburo, which was kind of mid. Zeonic Front, which was basically the mecha equivalent of a Rainbow Six game. And then, interestingly, after that, was a Japan-only title known as Lost War Chronicles. It was specifically using a refined version of the engine and mechanics from Journey to Jaburo. And, like, that's important to highlight because while Journey to Jaburo was kind of a mid game that unfortunately did what we were talking about as kind of a sin for this series, which was just doing a retelling of the main story everybody already knew from the anime. Lost War Chronicles was, again, another proper side story game. Game was faster, more refined, and, like, actually kind of expanded the sort of lore behind the 1 Year War further. And then, like, following that, I think there was Encounters in Space, which is like a space-focused Gundam game. It was kind of all right. I kind of can't help but
that one.
That one was a bit weird because it was like half a mix of retelling like events from the original anime, like basically the latter third of Mobile Suit Gundam when White Base returns to space. but then it also had like an additional side story campaign that was like completely separate from what Amuro and his team were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we cut to the PS3, and we get one of the more infamous Gundam games to ever be localized ever, called Crossfire, a PS3 launch game. And I emphasize launch game because it was clearly pushed out as fast as they could to meet the PS3 launch. And while I think Famitsu gave it like a somewhat more favorable review, like reception
Famitsu
elsewhere was very unkind to it.
Yeah, when they say it was a launch game, they mean like with a catapult.
Yeah, it was a launch game the same
maybe.
way that you could say Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 was a PS3 launch game. Like, it ran like shit. There were some things about the system that were, like, clearly ambitious. They were trying to aim for a lot, but again, trying to get it to work on a new engine for a new system was just, like, a bad idea. Like, just look up, if you need a reminder about it, just look up Mobile Suit Gundam Crossfire on YouTube, load up a video with gameplay, and just see how bad that shit runs. It is not good.
Looks more like, frame rate gets so bad, it looks more like flicker book animation at some point.
Yeah, literal slideshow. And because of that, that is, you know, and admittedly there are like some people that, you know, they have their opinions. They might like games that are received fairly negatively by the press. I'm one of them. My Devil's Third Let's Play is literally proof of that.
That accounts for about a good third to half of my game collection. And Ready collection.
But regardless of what you might think about Crossfire, you cannot deny at least that the reception of that game and how it turned out was pretty instrumental to like the sort of dark period that today's game came out in which Bandai just basically had no idea how to properly release and like distribute and market new Gundam titles and have them received well, because they just seem to get in their idea that only people seem to remember Gundam Wing because they just watched it the one time it was on Toonami in 2000.
And to be fair, they're not entirely wrong in that respect.
Even as much of an insane soap opera as that anime is. But, and to kind of get back, there's a weird parallel between Crossfire and today's game, Battlefield Record UC81, or Senki 81 if you want to just like shorten it, is that much like Journey to Jaburo, from that to Lost War Chronicles, this is a similar glow-up. In fact, I would say the glow-up is an even bigger jump in quality than it was going from Jaburo to Lost War Chronicles, because this is genuinely, I think, one of the best Gundam games that you could play. You gotta have to deal with the fact that it's not all in English, but again, like, if you're into these sort of games for the gameplay and purely that, you'll get a lot out of it.
I mean, visually, just going by the intro, it looks really good.
Yes, there is a tremendous jump in production value quality. Like, that's another thing that also you could tell that Crossfire was extremely weak on, where all it had were very, very poorly done in-engine cutscenes that just had the mobile suit in the mission environment and nothing else, you know? But here, you know, you've got not just... Yeah, you got not just things like, you know, character portrait cutaways for your pilots, but actual, like, animated cutscenes. Like, this is basically, like, the first game I can think of post Zone of the Enders 2, where you have this deliberate mix of 3D models for your mecha in actual real-time mission environments, like, spliced together with actual original 2D animation for your characters. Oh, and I forgot that for whatever reason, I forget if it was something with just like this this version I downloaded to put on my hard drive or not, but like you've probably noticed in the bottom right that like the button prompts are actually abiding by like the US standard and not Japan. I have to press X
weird,
to select. I have no idea why. I mean, I guess at least it makes it consistent when it brings up the system menu for like saving and loading, because that was always a confusing mess if you ever played imports on a PS3.
I wouldn't be surprised because I think the PS5, I can't remember if the PS4 had it, but the PS5, anything that you do in the system options will apply across games in general. So like if you have enable subtitles constantly, whatever DVDs or Blu-rays you put in, it will default to having usually just Blu-rays, not so much DVDs, but it will default to having the subtitles on.
I definitely can't remember if PS4 had that, but I'm definitely not surprised PS5 would have that, especially when like PS5 basically decided to just throw out like the standard cancel select that Japan had for the past 4 PlayStations. You know, they just made it the same for everywhere in the world. So we're gonna quickly go into this scenario mode from like a new game because unfortunately, if you load a new game, there are 2 types of missions: story and free missions. Story missions, unfortunately, cannot be replayed. So in order to get like the full like scope of like what this game is doing in terms of presentation and production, we got to go with a new game. And we have our choice of 2 factions. You know, the Phantom Sweepers of the Earth Federation, or the Invisible Knights of, well, I guess just Xeon, because this is UC year 81, so, like, the Principality is technically disbanded. It's now a Republican. These are just the stragglers who are like, no, you didn't win.
Classic Xeon loyalists.
Yep. Xeon loyalists versus special task force designed to clean up remaining insurgents who are not abiding by the peacefire. As you can tell, obviously, with this being quite a few years before Zeta, you could see how a force like the Phantom Sweepers would eventually give way to the Titans.
Shocking.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also like really interesting in this case, considering, you know, this is by the same studio as all those other side story games I had just mentioned. This is by BEC, which is no longer around in their current in that form. They are now known as BB Studio because they merged with Banpresto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you played any more modern Super Robot Wars games and paid attention to like the opening like title cards when booting up the game, and you see that logo, that's where these guys went. But like side story games had typically been all set in the 1-year war. This is kind of surprising in how it is not set during that time period, but during an in-between year where like it could have, you know, kind of like Stardust Memory or War in the Pocket, where it was very clearly like its own separate year in between like the main anime. So I think we're gonna go with Invisible Knights just because after the shit show that was trying to stream Battle Universe last week, and how like the OBS just completely mangled the footage of kind of the Xeon side from that stream, we're just gonna show this. Especially because the Phantom Sweeper campaign's the only one I had like played through completely on my own. So like I'm already pretty familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Now let's hope that this isn't an infinite loading screen. I'm not sure. I don't think. Okay, yeah, it is.
Hey. Yeah, genuinely wasn't sure if that was like hanging or if I was like, TF3 loading times were a lot longer than I remembered.
Yeah, especially when this is just the Blu-ray image just running off of the hard drive because I got this shit modded to hell. Look at those 2D animated chips. Look at that. They had some money to spend on this.
All of the salamis.
And unsurprisingly, like I think if you look it up, I think there was actually a separately released, like, 1-episode OVA that was made as a tie-in to this game.
Would not be surprised. I mean, the mid-2000s, Bamco were just throwing money at all their licenses.
Yeah. Oh, this looks familiar.
Oh, hey, I think I see Cool Guy's house.
Oh, no.
Right.
How many times is the world gonna have to remind us that Sydney, Australia no longer exists in the future?
Just a big fucking crater.
Yeah. And all because they fucked up on their original plan of trying to drop it on top of Jaburo.
I mean, it was only, 15,000 miles? I mean, come on.
And not even the entire colony. It was like the smaller part of it that broke away, too. Like,
yeah,
a good thinking, Garen, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, if they'd actually been able to drop the full thing, it would have been the equivalent of the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Yeah, there would have been no war. And
It
instead, you
wouldn't have
had a
been an
one-year
Earth.
war where 2/3 of it was a stalemate.
Yeah.
But as this is demonstrating, aside from like the kind of the brief demonstration of the start of the war with Operation British, where we've obviously cut to past the end of the 1-year war, Giranzabi and his sister are dead. Like the final battle took place and the Federation won. The ceasefire is made. Principality of Zeon is disbanded and reformed as a republic, which means they're just a puppet state. Essentially, they don't have the autonomy that they wanted. But 2 years later, there are still the remnants that think that the war isn't over and are continuing to fight. And that is the Invisible Knights.
Yep, gotta love that die-hard imperialistic streak.
Yep. And like, look at that. You see that shot right there. It's like, these are shots. The background is literally the in-game, like, mission areas. But with the characters 2D drawn superimposed on top of it. And it's all blended together in a way that you do not think that it looks out of place.
Honestly, like, this looks, with the fact that a lot of mech shows are any show with heavy machinery, really, these days.
Yeah, they've made the transition to portraying it with CG now, instead of just all 2D animation.
Yeah, with the way the anime's gone these days, you could honestly say this was ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's like...
This looks more modern than anything.
Yeah, especially, and I think part of it that helps is, you know, they only had to animate so many of these, like, cutscenes with 2D elements that, like, it obviously was not enough to, like, fill, like, an entire season of an anime, so they didn't need to worry about stretching their budget thin or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of animation that's probably in this game would be enough, I'm guessing, for probably about 4 to 6 episodes. So, you know, you could easily throw your budget at that rather than like a full 12-episode series.
Yeah, you know, something like, you know, an OVA, which this game got a tie-in for.
So, also, wow, this is so of its time with the brown and bloom.
Yeah, it is, but believe me when I say this, again, you can look up footage of Gundam Crossfire afterwards to compare. This runs infinitely smoother than that piece of shit. I'm even
100%.
I'm even using the super close-up, centered behind the back camera that game defaults to, and this is, like, comparatively smoother. It's not 60 FPS, but that's why I say comparatively smoother, because it's the difference between 30 and 10.
Well, I mean, it's hitting a consistent frame rate, so that already puts it ahead of the game.
Yeah. At least you can change, like, the camera however you want, like, to different zoom-out levels, or, because this was enough years after Gears of War made enough of a splash in the game industry that they were, or even RE4 for that matter, considering it beat it a whole year to that, you're just like, you know what? Have an over-the-shoulder camera. Better yet, have one that makes it so that it's over the left shoulder. I don't know. Options.
Something that a lot of games, even today, don't have an account for.
It's like, yeah, either they don't account for it, or they have it be something that dynamically switches in a way where you just don't have, like, manual control over it.
And it never quite works the way you hope it will.
Right. You still got your jump jets with boosters, kind of activated in, like, pretty similar ways, where, like, the priority is that it'll, like, make you jump first, but to like, boost forward in a direction, you gotta double tap it. Anyway, time to kill some Fetties.
Federation scum.
You got a lock on, but you can manually aim if you want. Yeah, the key, just like in just the key like in any other like major like Gundam's game, especially in the UC timeline, you got to keep moving.
Listen to those old sound effects.
Yep. Got grenades as well as like an offhand weapon. There's a button that's like, if you're playing as like a GM, for instance, or any other unit that has the Vulcan head guns, there's also a separate button to fire those. And of course, it wouldn't be Gundam if you didn't have melee.
Heat sword go.
Yeah, but here's something I'm actually going to show off. This is like a cool thing about the combat in this game. you can just press the button to attack normally, but see that circle that was filling up. You know, it's kind of green, the top half. Well, it kind of blocked it, but it knocked him down. You could do charge attacks, and there are different strengths of, like, charge levels to it, depending on, you know, if you hold it for however long. Like, there's basically like a half charge and a full charge.
It's easy to forget that the shields in Gundam were never for show.
Yeah, they're actually useful. Like, these, like, no matter how big and tough mobile suits in Universal Century timeline are, you know, the weapons are made to match that, so they go down about as quickly as any human would against conventional firearms.
And it turns out that even having a simple bit of armor plating in front of you works wonders.
Yep. Which, of course, you have a dedicated button for guarding, if you want to do that. Oh yeah, and that's our friend who, like, the whole part of this first mission was attacking this envoy so that, like, one of our buddies could steal a GM for us.
I like the sort of very subtle cell shading on the robots as well.
Yeah, very thin outline, which I think is, like, a pretty instrumental for helping, like, the cutscenes look as good as they do. You know, so that the 2D elements blend in well.
Going by the cutscenes from the intro, it looks like they had slightly thicker cell shading, but either way, it's really, really nice with the way they've done it.
Yeah. An important thing to note, though, as well, like, when you're trying to go for, like, these charge-up attacks, is that if you do get hit, the charge is interrupted. So there is a risk to doing that all the time. Sometimes if you just need to get some amount of hits in, especially if the damage output is strong enough to begin with, sometimes it's fine to just take a heat sword and do a simple 3-hit combo.
I mean, why screw around if you don't need to?
Oh.
Bounced like a basketball.
Yeah. There we go. You can also crouch as well, which has another function besides just, you know, taking a knee or whatever like that. Your health system is basically divided into 4 quadrants, and like it's basically like it's operating on the sort of like regen health system that I actually like compared to the way most games do, and I think you're familiar with it as well. You know, it's the kind of one that, like, Escape from Butcher Bay, I feel, kind of made known.
Yeah, I was going to say Chronicles of Riddick is always the one I think of with the health chunk restore.
Yeah, where, like, if it goes below the first threshold, it will only regen back up to whatever that new threshold is. Which is, like, and that's kind of the purpose of, like, kneeling down. Though there are also, like, actual for real resupply points that will do more to actually, like, properly repair your mobile suit and refill on ammunition on top of that. And, and as you can see with the AI as well.
With this one.
Oh yeah, but like with the as you can see, yeah, that's a good thing to bring up with, like, the ammo. You can see, like, the readout at the bottom. Like, you got the amount that you have in a magazine as well as the actual magazine itself. You have very limited amounts that you can bring in at a time.
So if you find yourself out of ammo mid-battle, just, like, run off to a supply point and hope for the best?
Or, yep, either that or fall back on, like, on a separate weapon. Ideally, melee, you know, because melee is infinite.
Yeah. I mean, you can't run out of swords unless this is Attack on Titan, which this isn't.
Yeah, because they need to be, like, as sharp as can be,
yeah.
Only the sharpest of swords for cutting the finest of napes.
Not a big fan of Attack on Titan, but I love the fact that all the swords in that are just basically fancy box cutters.
Yeah, they really do just look like box cutters.
I'm a man who appreciates a good box cutter. Don't take that out of context.
Yeah. So look at that. First, the ammunition, first magazine was already used up. We're down to the last one. Go. That honestly looked weird. It looked like I blew up at the end.
Yeah, I was a bit confused for a minute there.
Yeah. For real though, like with the production values of this, it's like if Kojima, oh hey Arian, how's it going, man?
Hello.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like if Kojima had actually gotten to like making the that third Zone of the Enders game, it's like the ideal. Well, I don't think there would have been a guarantee that it would have been done this way, because if Kojima has the money for it, he'll probably go for something like higher budget than this. But like the approach this game took to how it blends together like 2D hand-drawn characters with like 3D mecha and environments is what would have been like the perfect evolution of the style they had in the second runner.
I mean, this is Kojima we're talking about. The man doesn't do anything that isn't ridiculously grandiose.
Yeah.
So I could see him basically creating an entire 26-episode anime and just letting the player play the fight scenes.
Yeah, and just all the in-between stuff are Kojima-length cutscenes.
Yeah. Or occasionally when, everyone's going from point A to point B, exposition dumps like that, you'd be like, okay, you can do that for a bit, because you've been sitting here for like 3 hours.
Yeah, or just have like a mission or two where it's just you're essentially having to like walk from like across like a stretch of land that's like an escort, and it's just Death Stranding with Mecha.
Yep.
Is that a fucking Zaku 1? I think that was. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Zaku 1 and a GM, because with the Invisible Knights basically being remnants, without a proper army to get supplies from on the regular, it's like the whole thing with the Invisible Knights is that they just gotta scavenge for whatever resources they can find while they're here on Earth, while carrying out diversionary missions to kind of distract the Federation from their ultimate goal, which might as well say is like part of the plot summary, because we obviously won't get to the end of the game to really show it. But the goal of the Invisible Knights is to hijack control over like a series of like lunar mass drivers, like basically giant rail cannons stationed on the moon, ostensibly for like delivering like supplies at like high speeds with like no fuel expended or whatever, and basically use it as like a cannon to point at Earth to hold it hostage until the Federation exceeds their demands, which is to basically say that Zeon were the real winners of the 1-year war and to restore them as the Principality. As you can imagine, this was a very terrible plan that doesn't work.
I'm not saying Zeon have a one-track mind, but there is a case to be made.
There's enough of these incidents and like ideas that you can bit more understand why Char would get the awful idea of just of thinking it's a good idea to drop Axis on the Earth.
I know it literally just like, I know it didn't work the last several times we tried it, but what if? Hear me out, guys.
Hitler had the right idea, but he fucked up in this area. Me, though, I got it perfect.
And meanwhile, Giran Zabi's just like, Hitler was a pussy. I killed 10 times the people he did, and you don't see me complaining about it.
Yeah. Hitler wishes he had mobile suits that look this good.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, that really is what it, just the whole deal with all these fucking Zeon sympathizers and kind of the reasoning that they just go along with it. It's the same shit about people that, like, have such a huge fascination with, like, Nazi Germany's, like, military, like, weapons and aesthetics.
Like, I don't agree with what they did, but I kind of like how they did it. Okay, problems there.
Yeah, rephrase that just a bit more.
Rephrase that by, saying, I don't know, not that.
Not that.
Yeah.
Maybe say you wish that their scientists and engineers could have applied their talents to something more beneficial.
Yeah, they had the best engineers and scientists. What if they didn't do the human experimentations?
Yes.
Like, what if they just tried to make a better windmill?
Yeah.
No, not in the shape of a swastika. Fuck off.
What about a windmill that's a robot?
Oh, I see. You've seen G Gundam as well.
Yes.
That's a reference that'll make perfect sense in about 50 years.
As a German person, I shouldn't be allowed to laugh at that.
Oh boy.
Man. Well,
problematic.
yeah, whatever. I still make the joke that if there's anything that would like cause like people to like ever stop watching me for any reason, it would just be for like trivial opinions about things I don't like, as opposed to actually problematic shit.
Yeah, the way I look at
my
it
opinions on 4th Gen Armored Core are enough to get me canceled more than saying anything remotely positive about Xeon. I mean Nazis. I mean both. Shit.
My general philosophy on the whole thing is it's okay to laugh as long as you're laughing at Nazis because they're fucking morons.
Yep. Laugh at the Nazis and laugh at the KKK. Those are the universal rules.
And if you get the chance to punch one, do yourself a favor.
Take the opportunity. Always punch down. That is correct.
Punch left, punch right, punch up.
Punch down. Preferably towards the nut.
No, stomp down.
Ah, right. Right. Down is towards the solar plexus.
Yes, or the feet. Or, if God willing, back of the head as they're biting the curb.
That's a good point. What wholesome commentary on today's stream, I gotta say.
We're in kind of a mood.
Oh god, that's right. Yeah, Aaron has the right idea. Just do like the fucking roulette move from God Hand, where you just kick the dude in the nuts, and it has a little ding.
Don't act like you don't like the ball breaker.
Yep. And then follow up with a dragon kick their ass to the Milky Way.
Milky Way.
Don't act like you don't like a ball buster.
I'm gonna have to go and watch the ending for God Hand when we get off again, because I love that.
Still the best credits with lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Second after that, I think might be, this might be controversial to some, or what? To people that don't know. The ending to Rogue Warrior, which is just the fucking, like, which is just like the rap of that takes like Mickey Rooney's swears and just turns it into a rap the entire time.
Yeah.
That game is so shit otherwise, but that moment, it's gold.
Well, I mean, don't forget that's a game which has him deliver, like, occasionally when he executes someone, he'll deliver a witty one-liner.
Yeah.
And there's one that's just, and there's one that's just like him delivering a 5-minute soliloquy about how you're going to enjoy licking his testicles.
Oh my god, I forgot that happened. I just remember all the other swearings, the middle fingers, and the fact that like says "bring the noise, bitch," even though I think the time that it was set in was like still years before that song by Public Enemy had been made.
I think the game's set in the mid to late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, because it was a whole based on the life of like the actual real life person, that kind of like mercenary soldier who I forget the name of.
I think it's Richard something.
Richard something had a whole book. It's the sort of thing where like the more I think about the concept, I'm like, isn't this just Soldier of Fortune?
Well, here's the thing.
Because that was a similar thing where it was based on a real person, John Mullins, but like it was just made even more exaggerated, the shit he was doing.
Now, here's the fun thing, because all the books that he wrote were essentially autobiographies. It was literally just him going, hey, so here's this mission that I took to destabilize this asset that the American government didn't want us to know about. And the army lawyers were like, dude, you can't do that. So it's like, oh, okay. I'll write a fictional series about a guy with my name, my bill, talking to people with slightly different names. And I'll publish that. What are you going to do about that, bitch?
Yeah, he basically
later,
just
it
talked
turns
to
out
them
nothing.
the same way that he did in the Rogue Warrior game.
Yeah. So it's all about him and his missions to take down Sadel Fastro. I mean, the guy is a monumental piece of shit, but kudos to him for that one. Like, gotta give it up to him.
Yeah.
Also, third place for musical interludes in soundtracks, Shadow of the Damned.
Yeah. Also, I'll admit, I froze for a moment because I was like, did something crash? Because as soon as I went to this menu, that was like when the menu music ended, and I thought it froze. I thought the game froze. Because I was trying to see if there was anything that I could purchase. But, okay, that's, okay, so only the heat axe. There's not like the heat sword, because that means I can't quite show off something that I was wanting to just yet with like the customization in this game. But I guess just the way to describe kind of what you have. You got weapons that you could equip. Basically, like, you have your two like primary handheld weapons. Ideally, it's like R1, as I have it mapped, is for like your primary ranged weapon. R2 for your primary melee. Square is like for guard, as long as you have like an appropriate shield weapon equipped. If there is no shield, you cannot guard. And
so then, you can't block with a melee weapon or anything, no?
Correct. Well, I think well, no, that's the thing I'm trying to remember, because that kind of gets back to with the R1 and R2 weapons, is that if you have two of the same weapon, the game will give you the option to dual wield them both.
Nice. It's not something we ever actually see very often in Gundam.
Yeah, it's like, this is the only game I can think of where that is actually an applicable option. But it's the sort of thing where with the, like, if you have two melee weapons, like two beam swords or heat axes or things like that, I can't remember if you could still defend with both of you hold, like, the shield button. Or if it's something where it's like, no, you can only do it if you have a shield. I would not be surprised if it was balanced where it had to require you have the shield, because, to be fair, the melee power boost that you get from having, like, two guns or two swords is really fucking good. That's that's the ideal to aim for in this game.
Just all of a sudden you become the Gundam heavy arms.
Yeah. And then L1 and L2, as mentioned before, those are basically things that you cannot swap out because they are specific to whatever mobile suit you have equipped. So, you know, on a GM, L1 would be, you know, like the head Vulcans. There's obviously nothing on this. But the Zaku 1, they got like the cracker grenades that are like mapped here to L2.
If you get like a goof, then you've got the tentacles and so forth.
Yeah, a little like tether. There's parts which are kind of like optional, like pieces that you could equip that'll boost your performance in different ways if you want. But they do have like some trade-offs at the same time. Like for instance, it increases like, you know, armor points, like which is like our health. That then gets divided up into percentage, but it does also mean, you know, like our speed will go down by a few points. So there's like trade-offs to how you want to kind of boost your stats and specialize your mobile suit in different ways. And fortunately, you can like equip and unequip them freely. It's not like in Super Control Mecha MG where you just equip it and then like if you want to replace it with something, that old upgrade is gone forever.
Yeah, that's one of my pet hates when games do that. It's like, okay, you can use this boost, but you can only use it once, and you need to destroy it if you want something better.
So I think I'm going to just, because this one does have like higher damage anyway, so I'll at least get a head start on buying. Actually, hold on, because it says like I think it says I have two. Oh yeah, we do actually. So, yeah, this is what I was talking about. We can now select yes or no on whether or not we want to dual wield two heat axes. So let's go with that then.
The real Dark Souls 2 starts here.
Yeah, because that really is something that you want to invest in with this game. Is like just dual wield melee weapons and like and when you upgrade like your mobile suit as well as like your pilot stats, which is like something that you can do here, but like only if you get like separate experience for it, is that you kind of want to specialize your mobile suits to be as mobile and like high damage in melee as possible, because as always in Universal Century Timeline, if you're standing still, you're losing.
Yep. That or you're just about to get into a dramatic fight with your rival.
Something like that, yeah. And it really does make the game a whole lot more fun this way and kind of rewarding, because, like, the game's already, I would say its base speed is kind of like the ideal kind of, like, standard that more realistic Gundam games should aim to have you start with.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, there's some where, like, they might try to really make it way down in order to sell the fantasy of the fact that this is a big, tall, heavy piece of machinery. But sometimes there is a point where you can make something too heavy, and unless it's something like Steel Battalion or Mech Warrior, it becomes a detriment. Especially when you have the likes of jump jets and boosters that are supposed to add, like, an extra bit of depth to mobility.
Yeah, like, this is a world in which verniers are, commonplace.
Yes.
Move us above a slow trot, almost an amble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can still give the mech weight, but these things can haul ass at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, just look at what I do here. I think this is a good litmus test for anyone, especially for people that might want to design a mecha game and want to have it actually feel like a mecha and not like it's an aesthetic. Watch what I do here where I jump and then boost forward. And watch as I land. You see that little skid forward?
Yep. Momentum.
Momentum is key. You can have momentum that still sells the idea that your machine is heavy, even if it is not moving slow as molasses.
It is a difficult thing to portray well in games, full stop.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was like one of the Midnight Club series in the PS2.
Right.
Like, your speedo would be reading like 200 miles an hour, but the actual speed of the game made it look like you were just crawling along, doing a nice safe 30.
Yeah. Look at that. We got 2 axes. That means we got a 4-hit combo. That said, though, I think actually, like, with the points that we get from this mission, next thing I'm gonna get is definitely like a proper beam weapon if it's available, because that's where you'll get to see like the charge attacks in action for like for your primary ranged weapons.
Yep.
Ahasio says, like, what we were like describing is one of the reasons I don't like Mech Warrior. Yeah, just because like the fact that movement is so simple and that it is this big stompy robots, like to a T, which makes sense. Like that, I get the appeal of that. If anything, it more reminds me why I like Steel Battalion actually more than that. Because while it is very similar on the surface, the fact that you have something like a slide step, like an evasive dodge essentially, it may not be a boost system, but it at least adds just that little extra spice to how movement works in it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Battletech and Mech Warrior in general are very much more of an acquired taste. Just simply because they are so far on the hard end of real robots.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing where I think it's a lot easier to... Oh yeah, look at that fully charged attack. Total knockdown. But yeah, it's the sort of thing where I think, especially considering Battletech's origin, it makes a lot more sense to get into. I think, like, if you're approaching it from, like, the original source as a tabletop game.
Yeah. Well, that was ominous.
Oh shit, I was not actually paying attention to what was supposed to be going on. Oh, fuck.
I was wondering what was happening there. I was like,
Yeah. Okay, so how about a little less explaining and just more going back into let's just fucking kill all these GMs before something happens?
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah. When you were talking about having heavy feeling in a game like this, I was thinking about how Project GG from Platinum will handle that if that game is still a thing, since you're not playing a mecha there, I think. Yeah. Admittedly, ever since Kamiya announced that he was like retiring from Platinum, it was like I basically gave up on that project coming to fruition now. Which is a shame, because it was like that would have really been interesting to see how he would have handled how he would have approached the idea of like an Ultraman-style superhero game. Because that's clearly what it was going to be going towards.
That was the third of his superhero games, right?
Yeah, because clearly Beautiful Joe was more akin to Kamen Rider, and Wonderful 101 was a Super Sentai.
Yep.
It would have been the perfect thing to kind of finish all like the list of like Japanese superhero inspirations.
The holy Toku Trinity.
Yeah.
And then there would have been DLC in which we had a crossover and everyone would have been happy.
Yeah. For some reason, it's not letting me like lock on. I don't know what the hell's going on, but unless this is another thing that like fucked up on the yeah, it's like still actually like in the game proper.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was a different death. Honestly, fuck it. I'm just going to look back up again. I'm briefly going to have to risk opening my browser just so I can, like, load up what the fuck the, what the mission for this one is, because I genuinely forget what it's, like, looking for.
I mean, if it's not kill everything, then maybe it's get to a certain point on the map before timer runs out.
Yeah, I guess it should be like just destroying them all or something. I don't fucking know.
This early in the game, it's a bit weird to be going for, anything else, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's odd. Well, Hasio's on the case. Going after the Ifrit. Yeah, so I guess this is, admittedly, I guess this is just one of those things where it is like, maybe you'll have an easier time understanding things if you are, like, proficient in Japanese and can understand what's being said.
Yeah, they had to have at least one early mission to weed out us filthy gaijin.
Something. Trying to ambush something from behind? That is weird. Because, like, I know, like, there was, like, an actual walkthrough / translation guide that I had, that I, like, consulted beforehand just so I could have in my head, like, what all the, like, kind of like what all is going on in the plot, be able to explain it. Alright, well, let's actually just, like, keep boosting forward since there is more to this map than, like, the kind of the first half that we were going through.
Yeah, just that box canyon at the start. Frame rate chugging just slightly a bit more in this area, but not too bad in the way that it would become unplayable. Yeah,
I mean, like, this was still a game that was on a budget by, like, a developer primarily known for, like, doing licensed game times for Bandai. You win some, you lose some with Beck, but, like, for the most part, they did pretty good. But yeah, they did, like, a really good job with this game overall. Like, we discovered a Federation force migrating through the Syrian desert. They were dispatched to find us. They have not noticed our existence yet. Use that to our advantage and annihilate the Federation forces. Purpose, crush the enemy force. Yeah, so it's like, it shouldn't be anything that requires you to, like, be stealthy or whatever. This is the first mission. All I really know is because, like, I did play this first part of the Xeon campaign, like, many, many months ago, but I at least recognized that this was at least a harder... Oh, wait, I think I noticed because, like, there's more allied units. Maybe that was the thing. Maybe you had to, like, save them, not let them get destroyed or something. I don't fucking know. They probably went off the map. That could have been it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the Xeon missions, they're not meant to be played first thing if this is like you're new to the game. It's like a kind of slightly harder starting out. Yep.
Yeah, gotta love those mid-2000s physics.
Oh, yeah.
Just leaping up halfway into the air, realizing they're dead, and then face planting.
Might have quoted the wrong mission, but still, go get them. Okay. Well, again, the help is always appreciated, Hasio. I mean, someone has to have, like, a bit better understanding at Japanese than the rest of us do.
I mean, I know words, I don't know how to read.
Same, yeah. Like if I hear certain words being said, then it's like I can at least kind of surmise maybe some of the intent. Doubly so if there are like appropriate visuals. Anyway, here's actually a resupply point. This is kind of how it goes, basically. You get a little timer that's calculated based on how much ammo needs to be refilled, as well as, like, how much of your armor points needs to be replenished. And then you're back in it.
I was going to ask if that changes based on how much damage and ammo you've used.
Yeah, pretty much. And also, I do believe as well that they have, like, limited usage. So it's like, you can't keep going back to them infinitely if you keep fucking up. You eventually gotta push forward.
Yeah. So just like it heals 300% damage and then you're done for.
Yeah. But yeah, those were my allies. The blue targets up ahead, though, those were like the allies that we couldn't let them get destroyed. So yeah, that's actually... Yeah, something must have happened with the ally units at the other end of the canyon that just completely, like, failed the mission.
Alright, actually some decent cash now.
Yeah. I mean, we had, like, we basically kind of, like, made back the amount that we had spent before this mission, and then some. Let's just try and, like, skip through this so we can get back to showing a bit more of, like, the in-between mission menus and whatnot.
Hey, we're going to Odessa. Nothing bad can happen when Xeon tries to take Odessa.
Yeah, totally no bad memories are going to come from it.
PTSD? What PTSD?
Yeah. Funny enough, on the Phantom Sweeper campaign, the main character of that literally does have PTSD about, like, the 1 year war, because he did fight during that.
Ouch.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, as you can see with, like, this world map, it's like you have to actually move to each major location in order to, in order to get the missions, for there. And you can see, like, with the number on them, is like, there's the... So, like, the story missions here, like, these are the ones where it's like, when you... when it's grayed out and has the word end, that means it's completed. That's a story mission that you can't go back to. But then you have stuff like, which are like the order free missions, whatever you call them, and those are infinitely replayable. So the idea is that if you happen to hit a story mission that is proving to be a bit too tough for you, you need some funds to get better weapons and upgrade your mobile suits, you know, just replay a side mission over and over until you get all the stuff you need.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. The Hasio translated that mission briefing for what we just did. Destroy enemies. At least 50% of own units have to survive. That explains it.
There we go.
Yeah. So let's do our consorts a favor and also, like, repair any damage they've sustained. Let's see if we can buy... And I think this is just like a better... Oh, but well, either of these we can't really buy yet anyway. But yeah, because 120 millimeter machine gun, 240 millimeter bazooka. I think it's fair that we save up for the bazooka.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go have fun at Odessa. Yeah, we'll doing a bit more of these. Got like a selection of missions to go through what we want. Let's get back to it. Yeah, I'm getting adjusted to this again. Again, with how many different Gundam games there are, even for the ones that you could say are good, it's like, you know, there's always some notable differences in them that also result in varying levels of quality. Beck may not have like produced gold every time, but they at least, the good ones always have like something interesting to them, like some hook. This meanwhile is like, it's less that it has a unique hook in terms of mechanics and more that it is just a refinement of the style that they had kind of started with like Journey to Jaburo, but then like made better with Lost War Chronicle, and then also at the same time fixing what they had fucked up when they made Crossfire.
Yeah.
Because all the other ones, it's like
supposed to make the game move. Like, when was that thing?
Yeah, that's a good point. But meanwhile, it's also like, I'm still thinking back to Blue Destiny and Rise from the Ashes, where it's just like a Gundam game in a first-person perspective is still so novel. Like, I feel that needs to be tried again. And as well as, you know, Zeonic Front being like that, you know, if maybe not with Gundam, then at the very least with like an original mecha game idea where it's just doing like a classic Rainbow Six game but with giant robots.
Yeah.
Like that would absolutely be worth it for people that are fiends for heavily like tactical styles of game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or any just kind of squad-based non-RPG mech game.
Yeah, because this game does have squad mechanics. You know, you can do it with like with the D-pad. But as you can expect, with kind of like with a lot of the focus being on your own manual control, it's like, you know, the commands are made to be very simple. It's just simple changes in your partner AI based on the situation.
Go forward, withdraw, hold, my target.
Yeah. And you got like an additional two, like if you hold the guard button, which are for like specific like formations. A, V, which are just kind of like different angles that they'll take. Anyway, watch out. We got a badass over there. We got some gun tanks. This is why you definitely need to be moving.
Yep. And tossing grenades all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a whole lot of damage already.
That was a bad hit.
Alright, that's at least one. Is there like a resupply point? No, I guess not.
Unless it's that white square in the top left, I think it was.
Yeah, you mean the one that's surrounded by enemies?
Yeah, that one.
You know what? I'll just take a knee over here. It's fine.
Just look at it as a reward for all your hard work.
There's also another thing to note as well. I forgot about like this whole, oh fuck off. but because of just how much damage I took in such a quick span of time, notice how it's now 3 quadrants of health left instead of 4.
Oh, so it also takes chunks of health away from you.
Yeah, if it gets low enough. And like those missing chunks, no resupply points will be able to like properly fix that. So
it's like literally like missing armor plates, essentially.
Pretty much. It's not as complex as, say, what Crossfire tried to do, where there was actual locational damage. But again, that game was trying to be way too ambitious for its own good, that they kind of needed to make something a bit more back to basics just to prove that they can do a game that's good again.
Yeah, like that would be a really good idea for, like, say, an upgrade of the Gihren's Greed franchise. If you wanted to get, like, super granular.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like, Dwarf Fortress levels of grain.
But yeah, the white square is not a resupply point, but it is our objective.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, how often is it when you play a Gundam game on the Xeon side, and you're actually getting to use mobile suits other than Xeon?
Mobile suits other than, like, 3 Zakus and a Goof.
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens when you're essentially on the side that is having to play scavenger.
Yeah. It's all well and good having, access to some of the most specialized mobile suits in history.
Yeah.
But when, those glory days are long gone at this point.
Definitely. And I'm still getting hit from all sides. I just gotta kind of deal with the remaining troops. The Zeong's just 3 Zakus in a trench coat. That's always my favorite description for anything, really.
And Big Zam's just a Zaku with a weight problem.
The man following you in Act 3 of MGS4 is just 3 geckos in a trench coat. Literally
yep.
a trench coat.
Hey, he also has a very nice hat.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh, did you see that overhead slash?
Nice. That was some Street Fighter shit right there.
Yeah. It was a good thing, too, because I am now out of ammo for everything. Come on, come on. Yeah, whatever. No guts, no glory.
No ammo, no glory.
Oh, look at that. Is that all of them? Oh, no. Oh, fuck off. There's still... Whoops.
Killed him so hard he went through the building.
Something like that, yeah. Well, we're gonna do what we can. Oh, wait, no, that's right. I forgot, because we're in a GM. Head Vulcans. They were useful for something.
I mean,
although I don't want to take on
regular tanks.
I don't want to take on 3 more GMs like that are all clumped together like this, but I gotta.
Oh. Stood up just to remember he was dead.
There we go. Yeah, you gotta be fast, and you just gotta like lock them down with melee. Is the best option you got, really.
Beam Saber, unsurprisingly, way more powerful than the Heat Hawk.
Hey, look at that! A head Vulcan kill on a GM. It is possible. Oh no, and I lost another chunk. Shit. Credit where credit is due. They definitely know how to make a Gundam game like this where you do feel fragile as hell. Even if it does mean the game has to be somewhat difficult to sell the concept. There we go. Oh, shit.
Your partner suits were absolutely useless there. I think they got stuck behind a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much the sort of thing where, again, like, if you want a Gundam game where the goal is to have, like, a robust swath of, like, tactical options.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that is legitimately, like, such a good shot.
A really nice touch using the animating the flames there as well, but nothing else.
Oh yeah, there's actually like a shot on like the Phantom Sweeper side where it's not during a mission. It's like a cutscene that plays as a in between, but it's basically like a flyby camera kind of trail like through like your hangar, and it's like probably the most impressive shot as far as like how it kind of superimposes the 2D animated characters with like the 3D models, and it's like, and it's doing it while flying around with all these different perspectives, and it still looks correct. Like I wish I had a recording of that somewhere, because like that was genuinely like I think the money shot for me personally as far as this game's production values.
Yeah, the way that they're animating stuff like the what is it when they fire bullets? Is it like bullet flares or?
Oh, the muzzle flashes.
Muzzle flash, that's it. The way that they animate the muzzle flashes while leaving everything else like there, that is a really, really nice shot. Looks a bit dodgy when the camera itself moves, but otherwise, you know, as long as the shot stays still, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mission break. We got us an Ifrit. Which, from all, like, these side story games I've played, I've definitely become familiar with the Ifrits and can say, like, if I have to pick a favorite Xeon suit, that's probably mine. It's either that or the, well, no, I guess it'll be much easier to explain when I play Code Fairy on stream later, because it's more like it's... Because I think it's more like it's a modification of an existing unit, I think called the Comfer.
Oh, yeah, I know the Comfer.
Yeah. Big ass kunai stuck to your leg. Yeah.
I don't remember like what the lineage is, but the Comfer's like a relatively it's one that's used quite often. Weirdly so.
Yeah, but like kind of more like its introduction is meant to be more towards like the latter days of the 1 Year War anyway.
Yeah. Well, towards the latter end of the 1 Year War, they were literally just pumping out all kinds of crazy-ass suits that they possibly could. Kind of like what Germany did with its tanks in World War II.
Yeah. And the Comfer was also in War in the Pocket. Anyway, look at that.
So is it
may not be the Ifrit Kai custom from like the Blue Destiny, which is actually where I became kind of a fan of the
he's holding it backwards. Shit's gonna get real.
Yeah. I like just how much better this is than a dinky old GM or a Zaku 2 or no, fuck that. I was playing as a Zaku 1.
Yeah.
Hey, Gun Tank, I got a surprise for you.
Also, I can just imagine someone going like, so it's got a samurai sword. And they're like, okay, so is it like a beam samurai sword or
no, just a big hunk of steel.
Okay, but is it like superheated or does it move really fast? Nope.
It's just folded over 1 million times.
Holy shit, that can cut through molecules.
We call it the high frequency blade.
40 years ago, it was used by a really annoying ninja who turned into a badass.
Yeah. He got shadowed by pigeons at an oil refinery, I think it was.
Yep. Got pissed on as well. And then he got pissed off.
Yeah. Apparently he likes that? I don't know. Big hunk of steel, and the first thing I think of is Berserk. Oh, God, yeah.
Why has there never been
a sword is too kind. It's more like a slab of iron.
Like, why has there never been a Berserk Gundam crossover?
Oh my God! How has
I want
that
suit.
I'm honestly surprised that like considering how much of Miura's hiatus during the latter years was. Oh yeah, that emblem. We got the actual Phantom Sweepers on the scene. The two main forces are finally colliding. But no, I was thinking, like, considering how many, with how long Miura's hiatuses went for, entirely because of Idolmaster, I'm surprised he didn't try to work out, like, a crossover between the two.
Seriously, I mean, we've had weirder crossovers, like Hello Kitty and Evangelion.
That would at least would have been fucking hilarious. Oh, and also, speaking of Hello Kitty, we did have Hello Kitty crossover with Gundam. That exists.
Yep.
there was an entire animated, like, thing with that, where just Hello Kitty's just firing a beam that just chibi-fies all of the mobile suits that it hits.
Yep, Hello Kitty can beat the shit out of Char Aznable. This is fact.
Yeah. Also, the Phantom Sweepers were fucking tough because look what happened to all of my squad mates.
Plus, they were able to take more than 3 hits from the katana.
Yeah. these guys mean business. It's not looking good for us. But we gotta survive. This this is very difficult naturally.
New type Kitty. Okay, now I want to see Hello Kitty show up in Zeta Gundam or V Gundam.
Oh my god, yes.
Bad, but it's Maru taking the place of Katagina Luz.
Come on, and... Okay. Okay, and if you stand in that radius, they'll get back up. It's fine.
It's just tag rules then.
Basically. Oh yeah! Yeah. It's still not like, oh man, with the I just remember because of the because of the fact that you can dual wield weapons in this game. Like getting 2 heat swords, you basically could make your own playable version of like the Ifrit custom from Blue Destiny, which is like it's got a blue paint job, it has 2 heat swords, and it's like your main rival in that game. At least for like the first half until the pilot hijacks one of the Blue Destiny units, and then it ends with like a Gundam versus Gundam fight.
I'm kind of surprised that there isn't any two-handing options for the bigger weapons.
Yeah,
I imagine that would have been, you know, like just a bit too complex or just not on the table for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of like. There are millions of ideas that are always left on the table as far as how you could make the ultimate Gundam game whenever these are made. And naturally, as a result of the realities of game development, timing, budget, and all that, there's only ever so much that can ever be done before the old heads at Bandai demand you gotta put something on the fucking shelves.
Yep. It's all nice. It's all well and good having nice ideas, but you know, we are a company and we demand product.
Also, we do not acknowledge that, like, the main characters of our new series are in a same-sex relationship.
That Witch from Mercury?
Yeah. Yeah, I get the whole up to interpretation jokes that came out about that shit. I still need to sit down and watch Witch from Mercury. Now that I at least got confirmation from people that watched it that it didn't like crash and burn at the end, it's like okay, maybe it's time to find like a new Gundam series that is worth sitting through. Because again, it's the sort of thing where like it's been so long, where like I still care the most about G Gundam, and like I don't have the interest in watching Gundam Wing again. And I still think about how much the concept of Gundam 00 got wasted after Season 1.
Yeah, I mean, Seed and Seed Destiny, like, yeah. I will never watch again. Those were just... I feel like they were trying to do the Death Note Code Geass thing, but didn't have anywhere near the chops to pull it off.
And the fact that it's even getting another movie, again, is still fucking absurd.
Yeah. 00 is... I mean, it starts off incredibly promising, and then it just nosedives almost immediately.
It works the best when you view it as the idea of, like, a Gundam series that would have existed before a typical Gundam series. Like, something that would have to set events in motion to allow the typical Gundam tropes to even exist.
And the second series also tries to do the Code Geass Death Note thing as well.
Yeah.
Just with its really ridiculous plot twists and, hi, I'm a secret backup twin, lol. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Because my character was too popular with the female viewer base.
Yeah. It's like, okay,
I mean,
why
all
are we
of them were
doing
really.
This? Yeah.
It is a clear effort on Bandai's part that they referred to like them as Gundam Meisters.
Yeah, that whole series was jelly bait from the start, let's be honest.
Even more than Gundam Wing already was.
I mean, Gundam Wing, I think, was just sort of like, we thought it was going to be popular, we didn't expect it to be that popular with the female viewer base. 00 was like, okay, we're leaning into this now, and we're actively encouraging it.
Yeah, which, I mean, like, if it on that level, I can respect, as long as, you know, it doesn't lead to hacky storytelling, which unfortunately it just fell into.
Well, at the end of the day, it's got to have something else backing it up other than pretty boys doing pretty things.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why I despise the vast majority of moe bait shows.
Yeah.
Fucking Madoka Magica from the outside looks like one of the worst of that series, and then you actually watch it and it's like, oh shit, I was ill-informed about this.
Yeah, and then it gives way to like a whole host of people that are like, I think this is like an assessment that you could probably say is accurate. I feel like Madoka might have done similar damage to the perception of the magical girl genre, the same way Evangelion has damaged people's perception of mecha.
I mean, in the immediate aftermath of it, you had stuff like Magical Girl Psych, Magical Girl Raising Project, Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka. So, on the one hand, yes, it was cool that it brought out all these different shows that were new takes on the idea.
I mean, the idea I was going for was more like it kind of breeds like a viewer base that suddenly acts like that they have a reason to give a shit about the genre, even though they don't watch anything else in it.
Well, that's the other thing as well, is that you not just that, but you also get a type of viewer who just comes for the grimdark and doesn't really care about anything else. Like, I love a good grimdark series, you know? Like, whenever doing these, inevitably we wind up mentioning Evangelion, and
somehow,
Berserk.
No matter how hard we try to get away from it.
And strangely, Berserk, it always shows up as well.
Yeah, not as much as I would like, but it's whatever.
Yeah, but you know, I really, really enjoy those. But they don't just have something to say; they also manage to pull it off with style.
Yeah,
it's not just suffering porn.
Yeah, it's just the sort of thing where, you know, with how into mecha I am, I'm always, like, trying to be, like, the sort of encouraging thing of, like, you know, there's more than just this one thing, and also this one thing you like, it didn't invent all these other, like, concepts in a vacuum. There's there's a whole other world, a whole other genre besides just this out there. And I feel like I've briefly seen the same as well, just because of how often I've heard of Madoka in the context of like the magical girl genre, as if that's the only thing that gets talked about, that when I've seen other people that are actually into the magical girl genre, like as a whole, I notice a weird parallel between like my experiences with Mecha, where it is like, oh no, they're really into it because it's not just they're into Madoka for how like darkly deconstructive it is, or the fact that they watched Sailor Moon when they were kids and never went back to it. It's more like, oh no, these are people that watch Pretty Cure every new season that comes out.
Granted, the first couple of seasons of Pretty Cure, I've not gone that deep into them, but from what I understand, they're basically shonen shows with bows.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
And I think the detail I saw that made the most sense about it was that because it's produced by Toei were responsible for the anime adaptation for like Dragon Ball, and like I guess like the principal animators for like the fight scenes from DBZ ended up being like key members of like the production of Pretty Cure. And looking at some of the fight scenes that people have shown me from various series, like not just the early seasons, but even more modern stuff, I'm like, that makes too much sense. That makes too much sense for a series where the magical girl's primary attack isn't with a wand or some other magical weapon that shoots projectiles. No, they just punch it really fucking hard.
Yeah. The way I always described it was, it's a very cute girl in a very pretty dress and combat boots.
Yes.
And a pair of brass knuckles in her waistband.
And they just
like
goddamn cute all the same.
Yeah. Like, end of the day, you know, it has to be cute girls doing cute things because that's what's expected. Yeah.
But and at least the cute things they're doing is beating up the monster of the week. That's cute, right? What do you mean that's not your definition of cute?
Well, I mean, one of the big fights ends with a cross counter, for fuck's sake.
That's true. Yeah.
I
So I
was
think
like,
as we're winding down, because I remembered that I did have this unlocked technically, I might as well show off that this is like that there is one extra mode to this game that is what really I think gives the longevity to Battlefield record UC81. We've obviously seen a glimpse of what the story campaign is like. We've seen the production values and how genuinely well done and impressive they are. I do think, especially after watching those again, that this is the best production that a Gundam game has ever had in terms of story presentation. Second best would be Battle Operation Code Fairy, but I think a lot of that is helped by the fact that it is very structured like an anime, to the point where it plays the opening and ending theme at the start and end of every episode.
well, we were talking about it after the stream last week, and everything I'd seen about it made me think it was a dating sim.
Yeah, because of people just standing around in like a briefing room like it's a Persona game.
Yeah, it's just, oh look, there's like 10 pretty girls and no pictures of no screen caps of mechs. I wonder what kind of game this is.
Yeah, but no, it does have mecha, it does have mobile suit combat, and you'll be seeing that starting next week. But the last thing that Senki 0081 has up its sleeve is free mission mode, in which it starts out in a similar way where you can choose which side that you are allied with, which is either the Federation or Xeon, and similar world map to start. However, you get instead of following along with like the core story of the main campaign, you get a bunch of like kind of more expanded, tougher versions of like what you would have as the free missions, like the sort of side missions in the campaign, with the addition of being able to play online with friends. This has multiplayer co-op, which unfortunately I cannot show off because this is a soft-modded PS3, and as such, I am legally obligated to never take it online, lest my PSN account gets banned.
Yep. I don't think do they still bother with that for PS3 games?
I feel like it's something where I have to imagine they got it set up in such a way where it's like an automated check that may or may not work. That it's the sort of thing where people assume that the risk is low, but just knowing that, you know, that it's still using your account that ostensibly is used on all other PlayStation platforms. If it's linked to that many things, including stuff that you are using in a modern context and legitimately, why risk it?
Yeah, that's a fair point now you mention it.
Yeah, like if this were a dummy PSN account, then maybe that would be a different story. But I didn't feel like going through the hassle of trying to make like a dummy account on a legacy system that probably is like barely even recognized if you go onto like a web portal to actually mess with your Sony account management.
Yeah. But I bet though there's still like 3 Japanese guys and 1 guy from Mexico who are playing this constantly.
And to whichever ones there are out there doing that, I salute you.
Doing God's work, my friends.
Yeah. So basically, as it stands, you have, you know, it's very simple kind of missions. No fancy story context to them. But again, you can play these in multiplayer, and it also gives you access to like a higher difficulty if you want. So it channels. I feel like this is kind of the result of kind of how like you know, like what the popular multiplayer games in Japan were of the time. Like Monster Hunter obviously blew up pretty big during the mid-2000s. But even in a low-budget sense, you know, Earth Defense Force also kind of follows a similar template, where it's the sort of game where it's fun enough in single-player, but you know it is an absolute blast when you play it with friends. And the goal then is to just keep playing content over and over, challenging the higher difficulties until you as a team can come out on top.
Yeah, and at the end of like 300 hours and 6 years worth of gameplay, you get a really nice hat for your robot.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, wait, I completely missed them. They were over there. I guess that is one thing I do kind of wish was a bit different, was to have like a separate button that just toggled the minimap display. Like, change it from radar to the full, to like, you know, the actual sort of minimap that you see here on the pause menu itself. It would just make...
Well, there's no real quick turn function as well.
Nope. Well, I mean, especially with how it is, it's like you're, I mean, like when you shoot, obviously you're facing in the direction of the camera, but but you know, like your turning direction is not locked to the camera facing direction naturally. This isn't like Armored Core, you know, like classic Armored Core, how that works and things like that. Take that, Zaku 1.
He ran up so he could die in your face.
Hey, I just want to give you a hug.
Blarg.
Oh yeah, get him, gun tank.
It's a gym. Blah. Nah, it doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
You know, if it wasn't for, you know, it's the sort of thing where I feel like people definitely like to make something of a meme out of the whole, like, kind of the viability of the gun tank itself, the fact that it is a mobile suit that doesn't have legs. But I think when you play like the good Gundam games like these and actually have to go up against them, you kind of realize, oh, the meme isn't just a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally like moving artillery platforms. That's how they make up for the fact that they don't have legs.
Not just moving, but highly maneuverable artillery platforms.
Highly maneuverable with like fucking tank treads. That is genuinely high praise for them.
Yeah. It's not like the ball, which, you know, is usually the best bonus unit in any game it's in because lol.
Yeah. Isn't the tank, realistically speaking, the better option? Technically, but also, like, if we're going on completely real-world logic, like, super long-range targeted combat, like artillery airstrikes, should be the better option. But this is a world where they had to come up with, like, the concept of Minovsky particles in order to justify mobile suit combat being the way that it is.
Yeah. If we're talking about in a real-world situation, then absolutely. Like, the human form is really, really badly suited to going over any kind of rough terrain. Which is why we've created so many tools and bits of machinery to help us do stuff like scale mountains and cross deserts.
Yeah.
Tanks are basically one of the most maneuverable all-purpose pieces of machinery humans have ever invented. Like, bizarrely, so is the pedal bike.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like maybe if the gun tank didn't have World War I style tank treads, something like that.
Well, I mean, the World War I style tank has basically survived for almost 100 years with only minor improvements, and that's mostly to, like, because fundamentally the biggest weakness with the tank tread is it's very, very easy. Like, if it gets damaged, that's it, none, gone. You know.
Yeah.
So it's mostly stuff like redundancy for gears and wheels being removed. Because it tends to be the weakest spot on the tank.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the sort of thing where, you know, it makes sense that they have to explain it like this for Universal Century Gundam, because I guess that was enough of a problem to have to address, considering that this was the series that kickstarted the real robot subgenre.
Yep.
But,
oh shit! And he's got two guns.
Oh shit! That's right. Yeah. I mean, Jesus. I mean, like, now that I'm down to 33% health, like, that says everything. But it's also the sort of thing where, because you know of my love for stuff like Votoms and Macross, sometimes, like, if you're making something that is clearly fictional, you don't need to go the extra step to try and justify how, you know, this technically could have been a universe that diverged from our current timeline. Yeah. It's like, no, motherfucker, just make up the rules and for that specific world and keep them consistent. It's like, I mean, yeah, everyone accepts that armored troopers are like the current like preferred vehicle weapon of war in this universe. Just roll with it.
Yeah,
it
like
just works.
I've always said, like, as long as you give me something that sounds convincing, yes, I am on board. You know, like Star Trek. Yes, you can warp space because you have fancy engines that run on fancy crystals. Cool. I buy that completely. Don't really need to justify it past that in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. At some point, trying to make like an in-universe technical manual is only going to open yourself up to even more like loopholes and logic and how that shit works.
Yeah, like showing, exploded layouts of how everything is put together. Love that shit, but I don't need to know how the engine works. Just tell me it does.
Yes, exactly.
I'm very forgiving.
Don't tell me how they solved the issue of bipedal locomotion and just like and how like weight scales up exponentially the taller you make something. No, they just did it. Fuck you.
They can go at speeds that would purify human skin because they have special windbreakers.
Because G diffusers. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Fucking don't ask questions about how the F-Zero Grand Prix works.
Yeah.
There are still casualties that happen in that race anyway, damn it. And it's not because people are going at like 1,000 kilometers per hour. It's because they're going 1,000 kilometers per hour off the track.
Into a wall.
Yes. Or the city below, because the tracks are literally floating in the stratosphere.
Yeah.
That's Mobile Suit Gundam Battlefield Record UC 0081. That is a fucking mouthful of a title. It really is easy to just call it Gundam Senki 0081. Although now that I think about it, I think Gundam Senki 0081, or maybe just the name Battlefield Record, actually has ties to like a tabletop adaptation of Gundam set in the Universal Century.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah. Would have thought they'd have contingencies for that. You mean an F-Zero? Well, I mean, like, if you're playing in time trial, they just warp you back onto the track anyway. Grand Prix, though, anything goes. They literally allow criminals and costume supervillains to participate in it.
It would be like saying, well, I know Peter Sutcliffe did some really bad shit back in the 80s, but he really wants to drive this hover jet.
Just wants to go fast. It's the dream of humanity, really.
Wait, why? Who let Ted Kaczynski in? Like, isn't this totally not his thing?
Oh god. Oh god, the Unabomber totally would be like the name of like a futuristic hover vehicle.
Oh, 100%.
Single engine. That's all you need. It's just really big and really strong.
No, when we said we wanted the engine to go off like a bomb, Ted. Oh, never mind.
Ah, fuck it. Yeah, this game is legit good. Not as many missions as you think I'd be able to show off, considering how difficult they can be sometimes, but also having to explain, all the menu shit, sitting through some of the cutscenes. Although that last part's not really a complaint. The cutscenes are literally like a legitimately great flex on this game's part.
Oh, genuinely, like, we didn't get to see much of it, but those were some of the best cutscenes, I think, just from a sheer like the melding together of the 3D and the 2D. Yes. Those are genuinely some of the best that I've seen on the PS3.
Mm-hmm.
No
Even
question
some of the
about
best I've seen compared to like anime that exists today. I think the only ones that I'd say are like comparable and that basically had that kind of style on lock has been the Macross series ever since Frontier.
Yeah.
Like that has basically been that was a very early decision that Shoji Kawamori and his studio basically made early on, and that has paid dividends in the long run, considering just like the working conditions and wages and budgets that the industry still deals with today. Although apparently the next Macross series is being done at Sunrise, so who knows if that means change in animation, if they're going to get some of that Sunrise money to make it look comparable to a Gundam series, or if they're still gonna stick to the usual like kind of hybrid style that they've had for a while, but they just get like extra grunt work to throw at it because Sunrise is still like a big studio.
Just imagine what they could do with their ambitions if they actually had money.
Yeah, well, I mean, they still have money. They still have money whenever they do the Macross series. I mean, that's what all those concerts are for.
Well,
And,
I mean
and CD
that's
sales.
I mean that's really more the equivalent of doing a Kickstarter to get the rest of your series finished.
Whatever. I mean, how often do Gundam series come out versus the once in a decade that a Macross series comes out?
Fair point.
Yeah.
Plus, Macross, 90% of its merchandise seems to exist purely and just be fueled purely by nostalgia. The majority of the merch that you'll see will be for the original series, or occasionally Macross Plus.
I think you might be looking at it from a more international standpoint, because I feel like in Japan, it's like it is, at this point, it is still overwhelmingly focused around Frontier.
Fair point.
Yeah,
to be honest,
especially because I remember with the second Delta movie, they had like a animated short that basically aired before it in theaters. That was like kind of a bonus like Frontier short film. Yeah, Hasio knows what I'm talking about. Like, Ranka and Cheryl are still fucking everywhere.
Wow.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like, especially because Cheryl's actual like singing, like voice, her artist is still pretty prominent, and Megumi Nakajima, is still prominent in her own career, and her voice also lives on as its own Vocaloid anyway. So, Frontier was just a big deal. It's still to this day in Japan. It's just, it's hard to get that sense because Harmony Gold has been like just a blight on the rest of the world.
Oh, that is certainly true.
Yeah. Speaking of Macross, I'll look forward to that next Saturday as we take a break from these Gundam games.
And
as we go back to the PSP and check out Macross Triangle Frontier, my favorite Macross game, even more favorite than the PS2 one, which is really high praise. PSSSP, well, PPSSPP. That is still kind of a dumb. Like every time I just see the name of that emulator, it just makes me want to go pss, 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 and just send a billion cats around the world in a frenzy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the only emulator that can summon cats spontaneously.
Yeah. By the way, how's Chester doing?
Noisy and numerous. Chester. I was talking to a friend who was dog sitting the other day, and the dog, like, she doesn't have any pets. I don't think she's ever owned any pets except maybe a couple of fish. And she was saying that the dog that she was looking after just decided to throw up in the middle of the living room, and she was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna die! It's gonna be my fault." And I was like, sometimes pets just throw up because they don't think they're getting enough attention. And just as I'm typing this out to her, Chester walks into the middle of the room, looks around, and just starts going, bleh. I'm like,
give me pets, human!
you didn't have to illustrate my point quite so succinctly for me, but thanks!
But yeah, I was also asking if, like, in the event that my little pss, like, somehow reached your cat and just caused them to, like, just go apeshit or something. But whatever.
Chester's on the other side of the room. Tal, I assume, is sitting on my bed.
All right.
But he's very much asleep.
All right. Good cats.
I like them. I'm quite fond of them.
That was fun. We had as much fun showing off the game, talking about it as much as we did going on our usual bullshit.
Yeah, this was actually a decent game. I'm shocked.
Yeah. All the more frustrating that it never got localized, because just one too many bad Gundam games getting brought to the West, along with people just the continued misunderstanding of how like mecha games are supposed to play and feel, that this just gets left behind. It's a real shame.
It's so weird. The Bamco have never really quite known how to advertise Gundam in the West.
Yeah,
like,
I think the only answer they found to that conundrum was to just release it as is and let the fans do the rest.
Basically, like we've got G Gundam's getting a release on Blu-ray. First time it's ever been released in the UK. We never got it on DVD or on TV over here, and I have seen approximately 0 adverts for it anywhere. The company that's releasing it, I follow them on Twitter. They haven't put out anything for it that I've seen, and it's like, and you're wondering why people don't buy this shit.
Yeah.
But then again, each volume is the equivalent of about it's coming in 2 parts, and each of them I think is the equivalent of about $70 to $80. So that's not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's Blu-ray anime prices for you.
Basically,
They at least have the basic understanding that there are fans that exist outside Japan, and we're like, this is, we'll probably make money on this eventually, but most of it, we're just of the profits we make, we're just gonna keep focused on Japan because at least we know how to quantify that.
I mean, I was shocked that we got Turn A over here. We still haven't got V Gundam or Gundam X.
Yeah, it's still wild just how, like,
I assume
their decisions for treating this shit.
I assume Post-it notes, a marker pen, and a dartboard were involved when they were trying to decide what they wanted to release and when.
And probably also decided by, like, one of those, what do you call those specifically? Like, those kind of, like, bird-looking things where it's just basically, like, a bird head, like, on a stick that's, like, on a hinge in the middle, and it's just bobbing up and down.
Drinking bird.
Drinking bird, yeah. I imagine they probably just have that and then just, like, slide the, like, the approval forms in front of it. Just randomly, and then, like, where it decides to sign, that's how they make their decisions.
It's just got a big rubber stamp that says approved on it.
Pretty much.
Stuck on the nose.
Like Homer? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just desperately searching for the any key.
Where is any key? Exactly.
Oh, I wanted a tab.
All right. This has gone on long enough. Thank you again so much for being on this week. We'll see you next week for Macross. It'll still be a while till we get back to original, like, video game mecha. Armored Core 5 is at the end of the month anyway. But enjoy seeing how, you can still find fun in licensed mecha games. Take care.
Later.
Game over.